Come on then, let's be honest. Who had us at being third in Sky Bet League One after just 8 games? Do you know what? Sometimes you do have to pinch yourself and think, am I dreaming? Two back-to-back wins on the road and 2 clean sheets have left Mansfield Town keeping it simple as they continue to do what they did so well in League 2 last season at a higher level, defying almost everybody's beliefs. Are we to enjoy it as it continues, or can we keep it going a little bit longer? This is the place to come and have your say on your team on the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters. Dizzy heights of League One. Let's see how long this journey can continue. Hello, good evening and welcome to the Mansfield Matters Podcast. It's the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters. Great to have you with us again. What a week it's been. A good win at Northampton, followed up with another good win at Crawley on a rainy Tuesday. Horrible night as well is exactly what Mansfield Town will have hoped for. Let's say hello and good evening to our panel of Mansfield Town fans who are joining us on this merry quest this evening to talk all things third in Sky Bet League 2. First and foremost, let's say hello to the man who I think has just about finished eating custard creams now. Evening, Clive.
Got one left.
He's got one left. We'll let you eat it then as we say hello to everyone else.
Good evening, Craig. Good evening, fellow panellists. Good evening, the world.
And let's say good evening to a man who also, by complete chance, had custard creams on his person. Just says to me that he needs a wash. Cam Felton, good evening.
Good evening.
That's a gag about having custard creams behind your ears, by the way. It's a trick my dad used to do all the time. For those of you that it got lost on. And good evening to a man who, like me, has no custard creams, but still has a smile on his face. As always, it's Alan Wilson. Evening, Al.
Good evening, Craig. Good evening, fellow panellists. Like Clive said, I like that one. And good evening, everybody.
And let's go to the phone lines as well and say hello and good evening to a man who is not in delay. He's just not on screen. Evening, Jim. Are you there? He's disappeared on me. Where's he gone? He's actually disappeared. Jim!
You know, we ought to get 2 cocoa tins and a piece of string.
It worked.
I would try ringing him back. Let's try ringing him back. Let's see what happens. It should be coming through the desk, but it's not.
Quality.
Nope. I can't get him coming through the desk. That's fun. I'll sort that in a minute. Alan, what a week it's been.
Been an awesome week, Craig. 6 points, which is what everybody would have liked. I still maintain that as soon as we get those 50 points, it's or the safety point, whichever it is, I'll go for 50. Then anything else after that will be a bonus. But 2 cracking performances and well worth the wins.
They were well worth the wins, and I think what's more important, Cam, at this stage of the season is actually at the other end, clean sheets.
It is. It's a bit of both, really, and I think we've very much got the being able to score goals in League One down, and until the last 2 games, we'd not quite got the not conceding goals in League One down, and hey, nobody saw the last week come in and just where we are in this position. So let's just enjoy it while we can, and things are a lot more positive than I think anybody would have ever expected them to be during the first week of October. And just a fun stat for you. Obviously, Alan, we're talking about getting to the 50 points. We are now only 33 points from said 50-point mark. But last season in League One, you only needed 45 to stay up. So if there's ever a positive way to look at these things at the moment, that's, for me personally, by far the biggest one. We've just got to get to that 50-point marker, and we can then just enjoy the rest. Which at this rate, we'll hit it by Christmas. You never know.
Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, though, Clive.
Hey, points per game.
Let's try not to get too far ahead of ourselves, Clive, shall we?
I think I've been doing this long enough now as a fan to realise that if you expect the worst, it can only be better. And my view is let's get relegation out of the way. If by Christmas we're still clonking around in the top echelons, I shall probably change my stance a little bit. But I'm always guarded about over optimism because it comes back to bite you on the arse. Can I just say one word? It matters, this word, because I think it sums up what we're doing this year. Grit.
Yes, I think that's a very apt word. Grit, determination. And I think, like the title of the episode suggests, Alan, the factor of very much keeping it simple. We've done exactly that. We've continued what we did last year. We've tweaked shape a little bit, but we've done the simple things very well.
And we've also stopped making mistakes, especially at the back. I mean, we've had goals against us in the past, but more often than not, I'd probably say 90% of them are our own doing. And it's nice to see, like we've got 2 clean sheets. There hasn't been any mistakes. And like Clive says, excuse me, grit, teamwork, passion, call it what you like. They're playing for each other and they're playing for the shirt and being proud of it.
Well, as always, you're welcome to have your say on your team. Feel free to get involved in the comments. We will get Jim at some point once the desk's decided that it doesn't want to connect to Bluetooth, and yet it's saying it is connected. So I'm just restarting my phone, and then we'll get him back up again. But I'm sure
write to him.
I think we probably should. I think it's an on-running gag. We don't do it on purpose here on Mansfield Matters. It's just the way it is. Let's talk Christy Pym, Cam, because as much as we go on about Lee Gregory being great and obviously scoring all the goals and everything, Christy Pym this week, he deserves all of the headlines.
He does. Absolutely superb. And I think you look at the rest of the team and you always do wonder, think like, oh, we're going to score enough goals? Are we not going to concede goals? And one of the biggest doubts, I think, going into this season was sort of like, are we going to concede too many? And all right, we've conceded a fair few. But things have started to turn in the last few weeks where we're not conceding as many goals. The types of goals that we are conceding aren't as bad as they were defensively, or they're not keeper mistakes. Christie very much seems to have got Lincoln very much out of the way. And it just seems to have really took that one on the chin. Sorry, I'm being told I'm too loud. There we go. Is that better?
No, I can still hear you.
Keep turning it down, Cam. Keep turning it down.
We'll tell you when you've got the sweet spot.
Anyway, but he's very much just took it on the chin and got on with it. And I think you look at types of players and you always think strikers live on confidence. Well, so do goalkeepers. Goalkeepers are very superstitious beings and very much take things to heart if things go wrong. Obviously, Christie took it very hard in the Lincoln game, but since then he's been absolutely superb, and some of the saves that he's made have been absolutely outstanding.
Well, let's try this one more time. Hello, Jim.
Hi, Craig. Can you hear me?
Hey!
Evening, Jim.
Oh,
Evening, guys.
I knew we'd get there in the end. For some reason, my phone decided it didn't want to connect to Wi-Fi. It didn't want to connect to the desk. It didn't want to do anything. My phone, Jim, is as bemused as everyone else to this start. Are you as bemused as my phone as to how Mansfield Town are third in Sky Bet League One after 8 games? See what I did there? I pulled it back. Great journalism, great hosting skills. Go me.
Am I bemused at our start?
Yes.
Beyond expectations, very much so. Yeah, a little bit surreal at the moment. I think we need to keep this same approach of we'll just get what we can from each game rather than thinking that we are anything as such.
As ever, keep your comments coming in. Have your say on your team. We'll keep coming back to Jim throughout the episode. He can hear everything we're saying, so we will throw to him as and when. So if you're watching the broadcast and you're thinking, well, I can hear someone talking, but none of the lips are moving, don't worry, you're not going mad. It is because Jim's talking. He's not on screen at the minute. Right, let's move into some comments. And as always, we want you to have your say on your team. And the first one of real note tonight, Alan, is from Ben, who says, we look a lot more defensively robust in this new shape. I like the new system. We very much started with it like that on Tuesday at Crawley. And for the first time, when a team came forward at us, I felt comfortable and I didn't feel like they were going to score.
No, it seems to be working quite well. And, we've had quite a few players, different players in there. And like I said on the chat on Tuesday night after the match, I think George Williams deserves an awful lot of credit, how he came in and performed, because he's not the biggest of players, but at centre-half, I thought he did really, really well. And it just seems to be working. Everybody's playing for each other. It seems to be happening, where we're taking it and getting it through to the midfield and then obviously onto the strike force. But, yeah, long may it continue. But we can change it. Sorry, Craig. Can change it if and when needed.
I think what makes it more impressive, Jim, is the fact that we are still somewhat playing square pegs in round holes, considering all the injuries that we've got. It still looked comfortable. Keanu Bacchus, right wing back. Woo.
I know. I mean, we all criticised Clough, didn't we? Putting round pegs in square, but it saved us, hasn't it? I mean, if we didn't have flexible players and players who could play in flexible formations, I don't think we'd have the amount of points we've got. And I think that this is one of the good reasons I think we'll survive.
I think survival early doors, Clive. I think, we've done what Nigel Clough would have wanted to do, and that is get as many points on the board as we can early doors. And to be fair, you look at the quality of the teams that we've played so far, Clive, and we should have been taking points off of them.
Yeah, I mean, let's be fair. We didn't expect to romp away with this league. Why should we? I mean, we're not Wrexham with their delusions, and we're not, the big 3 teams in the league. And so where we are, I think, is surprising, obviously, but it's also probably a little bit false. We've played teams at the bottom so far, although they've played really well as bottom teams. Lincoln, we shot ourselves in the foot. I don't think we should draw too many conclusions from the Lincoln result. And that was really the only one that's embarrassed us this year. But I don't think when we've got a reasonable number of our players fit, we'll struggle too much. I think we'll lose where we might expect to lose, and we'll win where we might expect to win, and we'll pick up others as well. So I'm happy that I believe we'll finish comfortably mid-table if we carry on the way we are.
Well, let's delve back into analysts of the games then, Cam, and start with Northampton, which seems like an age ago now, doesn't it, on Saturday. It was always one of those games going to Northampton in the league where you're never quite sure what might happen. We've had some good games with them in the past. We've had some terrible performances there as well. And early doors, when Elliot Hewitt played that back pass, did you think that it might be one of those days?
A heart in the mouth moment for sure.
He did it deliberately to get Pim in the game.
Yeah, too right. Must have done. But I suppose you get those little bit of nerves out the system, and then we go on and play some fantastic football and score good goals. And it's not the best place for us to go. We're very hit and miss when we're at Northampton. Like we said, we've got some brilliant performances, but the last 2 league fixtures that we had there, not including the playoffs, were both, well, one was embarrassing and Clough said it was probably the worst we've ever played. And then the other one was, even that wasn't brilliant. We lost that. I think Stephen Quinn got sent off in that game. Not last season, season before. Season Northampton went up. We lost that as well. So in the league, we've not got the greatest record of recent there. But
we won there last year in the league, didn't we?
We didn't play them last season.
Correct.
Anyway, good chat, guys.
Good chat. So to go there and get 3 points and to be backed by such a fantastic away end as well, and to score, it's always brilliant to score goals away from home and in front of a sold out away end. But to score both goals at that end as well, it's just fantastic. And you can see that the players are really appreciating and the management are really appreciating the backing that they've got. And obviously Northampton's nowhere near as far as Crawley, but it's still very impressive to be taking over 1,500 to an away game.
Jim, you and I watched the Northampton game together, and we've sort of said the same thing when Elliot Hewitt made that back pass of, oh my God, it's going to be one afternoon. But as soon as we sort of got that out of our system, we looked confident. And yes, they had times where they looked like scoring, but Christy Pym just gave us the boost that we all needed. It just showed his quality, didn't it, on Saturday? Especially with that double save, the one where he palmed it behind for the corner.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you look at... I always think, Craig, most really good teams, they have a really strong spine to the team. And we've got that. We've got Pym, Dave, Lewis Reed and Lee Gregory. And I think Christy Pym, for me, he's one of our best players. And it's disgusting the abuse he got from the Lincoln game. And he's a match winner, and for me, he's worth 10 points a season. And if he didn't have the performance he did at Northampton, we were probably 2 or 3-0 down. So yeah, he's good. I'm glad we've got him, to be honest.
And you look at key moments in the game, Alan, as well, and there's several that you can pinpoint from Christy Pym at Northampton on Saturday. Obviously, the one which were referred to there, the save at the near post, and then following it up by tipping the ball behind for a corner. Of numerous commands of the box and catches, but obviously the most pivotal one was that penalty save.
Yeah, and it was, I thought there was a rule nowadays, but apparently it's not the case where you stutter. You can't, I didn't think you were supposed to be able to stutter when you take the penalty, but apparently it's not a thing now. But I don't think it helped the player. When he stuttered, you could virtually see which way he was going. It was still, I'm not taking anything away from the save, superb save, but I've noticed as well as his, trying to command his area, is doing a lot of punching when needed as well. And he seems to be connecting, which is a good thing, to allow our defence to get back in its shape again. And he commands his area, he commands the defence, and he's certainly very vocal.
I think go on.
Sorry, I want to pick up on that because this is something that was mentioned during the week. I think it was a Chad article that said something like, Clough believes that Pym would have gone a lot higher if it wasn't for him being so small. You look back to his first season and he wouldn't come for much. He wasn't very confident in the air, especially going from someone like Nathan Bishop, who was out for everything, to go to someone like Christy Pym, who very much stayed on his line, probably because he either couldn't deal with a high ball or just didn't have the confidence. But then the last season, it was something changed in him, and he was good that first season. But last season he was just outstanding, and then this season he's just carried it on. And quite clearly, he's very good at saving penalties. He's got the confidence to be able to do that, and he can read a game very well. but it just shows how much he has developed as a player and sort of like how his game's changed in the 2 and a bit years that we've had him.
I think what you've got to talk about there, actually, and we're probably guilty as anyone else for doing this, that goalkeepers and goalkeeping, the art of goalkeeping specifically, is very represented in the wider stream of media. It's not talked about much in match analysts on any show, whether it's Match of the Day, Sky Sports, whatever it is. I know Match of the Day, I think they've got Joe Hart as a pundit now, so they're starting to sort of break those barriers a little bit. But in particular, the two things that you talk about there, the penalty save and the command of area. Well, let's start with the command of area, because that's very much a tactical decision, I think, from the goalkeeping coach. You know what your strengths and weaknesses are of your goalkeeper, but also you work with your first team coaches to determine a style of play. And if you think back to the season when we had Nathan Bishop in goal, our style of play was very much get it and go, get the ball, release it early, and try and play and try and sort of get a bit of momentum going through the middle of the park. And a goalkeeper who's going to come and collect balls and be commanding of their 6-yard box and their 12-yard box, their penalty area, is very much going to allow you to do that play. The way we play now, which is a little bit more calm and considered and a little bit taking the sting out of the game and nullifying the opposition, almost commands a goalkeeper to stay back and to stay on your line. And if you analyse some of the saves in which Christy Pym has made, what you would arguably say, Alan, is by not coming for the ball, by not coming to claim across early doors when it comes in and letting your defenders deal with it in that area, actually allows you to be in a better position, because if a attacking player does win a header, does get a shot away, you are in the right position on your goal line to get your shape ready and to make the block. And 9 times out of 10, when our defenders don't win the ball and a shot gets in on goal, Christy Pym will save it because he's prepared. He takes that little step back, he's analysed his position, he's got his body shape right, and he's made the save. It's only when it's a good connection on the ball that it beats him.
I'm going to say, I'd agree with everything you said there. And it probably, as daft as it sounds, a lot of appreciation must go to Adam Collin as well. You know, because he's been there for a few years now, hasn't he? And he's obviously worked with Flinders and Pym, and as well as the youngsters coming through. And, you know, his ideas must be getting on with all the keepers as well, because he's done it, he's been there, he's done it, he's played the game. So who knows? But whatever it's doing, but it was noticeable, you know, when he made the 2 mistakes against Lincoln, the next game, whoever it was that we played, they were pumping some eyeballs in. And, you know, so his confidence had to come back sooner or later, you know, to deal with it. And it did. And it has.
And it is that sort of thing, isn't it? Goalkeepers will make mistakes. Like every other player, they'll make mistakes. But because of their position, it gets highlighted a lot more. When they have the good games, the games like they had like Pym had on Saturday, it doesn't get talked about as much. And to come back to the penalty save as well, Alan mentioned it there about Adam Collin and sort of doing the research. You know, he spends a lot of time analysing how teams will play. So you will actually see some games where Pym does come and claim crosses because it's the way they shape up. They don't get too many players in the box. But the penalty save in particular, Pym's studied it, Collins studied it, and has said this is where they're more likely to go. And they've done that research and they've spent that time on the training ground. And the whole stutter thing, it takes the momentum out of the attacking players' run up. But also what it does, it's a mental thing, because by stuttering, the attacking player, the one who's taking the penalty, is expecting the goalkeeper to commit and dive, which is then the stutter allows a quick change of the foot and roll the ball into the empty net. If you watch the penalty back, Christy Pym doesn't do that. He stands, he waits until the last possible minute, and when he sees him stutter, he's eye contact with the player, and he knows that with his body shape, he's only going to go one way. And because he's still got to make the run up, he knows that it's going to be a good height for him to get. So very good goalkeeping and very good coaching as well. And I think Adam Collin deserves a huge shout out for what he's done as well, Clive. But as does Christy Pym as well, Clive, because, you know, you can do all the work, you can do all the analysts, but sometimes you need your factory workers to pull it off.
Yeah, I mean, on the subject of Christy Pym and goalkeeping in general, he is slightly small as for the ideal. But I remember back to one of my heroes when I was a younger fan, and that was Rod Arnold. And he was never tall enough. But to use the words of the great late Stan Searle, if you're good enough, you're tall enough. And what you do is you compensate, and you play the way that your strengths allow you to. Now, I think somebody said earlier that Pim's not the best at crosses. Probably hasn't been, and is probably most likely to be beaten by good crosses because he doesn't have that aerial prowess. But a bit like referees, good referees you hardly ever notice them, and good goalkeeping you hardly ever see it, because it's the things that he does quietly, not the flamboyant stuff like saving penalties. It's everything else that they do, and goalkeepers get overlooked when it comes to so many awards simply because what they do is fairly quiet compared to what a midfielder might do or a goal-getting striker might do. So, if you spend all the match, and I know some people do this, looking at an individual player, and you have a look at a goalkeeper and see he never stops, but he's rarely involved. When he's called upon, he's ready. And I think that's Alan's point.
And I think the other thing on that, Cam, as well, is you think about their position. They're seeing the entirety of the game. So when it comes to, marshalling defence, communication is key. And we've made some changes defensively this season compared to where we were at the back end of last season. And to be fair, that communication seems to still be there with the change of shape, with the change of personnel. And it's I think, adds that extra 10%. Adam Murray used to say it's about the 1-2%, didn't he? It adds that to a defender's game, knowing that you've got somebody reliable in Christy Pym over your shoulder who's talking you through every aspect and every element of the game. If I need to get rid of it long, I'll get rid of it long. If I can play it short, I'll get a shout of time or space or whatever, and he's there to receive it as well. Good goalkeeping, that is a very good art. Some just sort of go through the motions, but that is the difference, I think, and what makes him probably one of the best keepers in, the top two divisions.
Yeah, I can't really say anything other than that. You nailed on the head. But yeah, and it's these moments that he's creating in games. Like, we so easily could have been on the back foot if he'd not made that save from the Hewitt's back pass. We'd have been 2 down if he'd let that in and then let the penalty in. So once again, it's a very different game. And John Brady mentioned it in his post match and said, like, these big moments they change games. And Clough said the same thing, that if they score that back from that back pass or if they score that penalty, completely different game. Whether we win it, I don't know, but we'd probably get a point at least. You'd like to think we've got enough resilience about us, but it's not putting ourselves in these silly positions. And you look at Burton, Shrewsbury, where bad mistakes or bad choices have cost us. Well, in the last 2 games, we've made a couple of little errors, but we've been dug out by our number one in goal.
Let's move on to Tuesday night then, Alan, and talk about Crawley away. Another clean sheet, which is obviously a huge bonus and what we wanted to sort of try and shut sides out on the road. But I think another part of it is also the fact that it wasn't the best night for conditions. We came up against a side that were itching to sort of impress their new manager, who was very much sat in the stands.
Who's the goalkeeper, by the way?
Their
new manager's a goalkeeper.
Yes, he is, isn't he? Ex Newcastle, isn't he? Rob, is it Rob Elliott? I think. So it was one of those nights, Alan, where we had to go and sort of do a different sort of job. We had to grind things out a little bit more, didn't we?
Yeah, and we did it, with aplomb as well. They stuck to the guns, and it was the new shape, like we said before earlier on in the podcast. They just looked good, I thought, Craig. They stuck to the task, but how physical were Crawley? I know there were some tackles, with the slipness of the surface, the slick, the rain, etc., etc. But I thought they were really physical, as in bad physical. But, we stuck to his task, and that bit where Will Evans, when he got clunked, and didn't materialised to either fighting, just walked away and whatever. I thought that was pure quality.
Well, wasn't the ref awful though?
Yeah,
dreadful refereeing. Didn't apply himself to the game at all, as far as I could see.
Let's turn our attention to back to you for a second, Jim. I know you because you were going to come and join me and watch it again on Tuesday night 'cause it was on Sky, but you had a few car issues. Did you manage to get to a screen in the end, or have you managed to catch up with the with the highlights?
I've watched the highlights and I've read the detailed reports I could get hold of, but I didn't actually get to see the game live in the end. No, but no, it seems we did a job, didn't we, by all accounts? And even though we seem to be under a lot of pressure, especially the second half, I don't think from the sounds of it, Pim didn't really have a save to make. So that was actually on target. So it's good, isn't it, that we can play football, but we can do it well. And we're pretty versatile like that, and I think we're gonna have to do that a few more times this season. But I'm sort of growing in confidence of how resilient, versatile, and how we can grind it out, which I think you need to do at this level. And I'm surprisingly pleased. I think we all are, really.
Let's have a quick word on Aaron Lewis, Clive, because he obviously scored 2 in 2 coming from the bench, and both very important goals for us as well. And finally got his start on Tuesday, and looked very, very solid in that midfield as well.
Yeah, I thought he had a decent game. I felt if he can play like that every game, he deserves to start every game. Simple as.
The only downside to Tuesday night, Alan, is the inevitable 3 to 6 weeks bug, which sort of came back to bite us. Yeah. We saw Bailey Cargill take a knock in the first half, so it's unlikely he'll be available for Saturday. It'll be touch and go. And then the most disappointing one is, of course, Lee Gregory.
Yeah, but the good part, if there is a good part about it, it's the week after this week when it's the international break, isn't it? So at least they've got like 2. I don't know whether we play the following Tuesday, possibly, or, the following Saturday, but they'll get an extra break anyway, which can only help us out. Plus, the other players coming back as well. But it is a shame, but what a tackle by Cargill in the first place. He certainly went in 100% for that tackle. He came off worst, admittedly, but it was a tackle worth making.
There's some debate about the international break and whether or not it's needed. Obviously, we've got the 3 internationals. Lucas Akins hasn't really played since the last international breaks. He's been injured. I wasn't expecting him to get called up this time around because of said injury. But in actual fact, where we are with injuries and things at the moment, I'm actually glad for the international breaks because it just allows a few key players to get a bit of fitness and get a bit of rest and recuperation at the same time back into their bodies, especially players like George Williams, who had to come on at half time on Tuesday, hasn't really played since one of the rubbish cup games, and Elliot Hewitt as well, who I don't think was intended to get on at all on Tuesday, but had to get through 45 minutes.
Yeah, obviously it's frustrating that we've had to use them, but great that they've just been able to slot straight in and do a job and preserve that clean sheet. But yeah, it's a negative in that the international break disrupts your season and it can disrupt your momentum. But brilliant because we've got so many players coming back after the break. Fingers crossed, touch wood, pray to the Lord or do whatever.
And just when Maris was coming back into the picture, he gets ill.
Yeah.
Is that why you missed Tuesday, is it? Yeah.
So
that's the way we do it.
We are very unlucky when it comes to illness and injuries, but it's a exact time to get players back injured, and it won't be effectively 2 weeks off. We know that Clough will have the players in training. They'll probably play a match against probably Sheffield United. Let's be real, seems to play them all the bloody time. But it's a good opportunity to work on things, and especially because we've got such important games coming up after it as well. Birmingham, Wrexham, massive games. Regardless of, we are not competing with them for league titles or anything. But you look at the table at the moment, and you're thinking like, if there's ever a time to go and carry this momentum on and get
Cam, if we were to get a win with our game in hand over Wrexham, we're second to Birmingham.
Yeah,
how crazy is that?
What is this season so far? It's brilliant. We can't get ahead of ourselves, but you've just got to enjoy it. I think I saw a stat last time we were in League One.
All right, Warnock.
What?
Everyone else got the gag. But for God's sake, but enjoy it, lads. Enjoy it.
Exactly. Bloody enjoy it. But we have not been here for 21 years.
Yeah.
Let's just take it in a stride. And 21 years ago, we were here and went straight back down again. And it took us to December, January to pick 17 points up. And we've done it in 2 months and 2 days. So we're doing something right. Podcast.
Yes, we certainly are. Let's turn our attention back to the comments. Come and have your say on your team if you wish to do so. We'll read some of them out tonight. We might have already spoken about a few of the topics which come in. So if we ignore your comment, don't think we're ignoring you. We've just already spoken about it. One that's come in though from Mitchell is, so Kilgore, once match fit and healthy, do you all think, I had to really stop myself then from doing an American accent, he should be a starter? The highlighted time for his return, Jim, is very much going to be the Newcastle under-21s game in the Nobody Cares trophy. But it would be great to get him back on the grass, won't it?
It will, but I think you kind of feel like he owes us a bit now. I think we've paid him for over a year now, and he's not done anything in anger. But I kind of feel sorry for him because he must be so apprehensive subconsciously that he's going to get injured again. And I don't know. I'm not hanging any hats on Kilgore because we don't know what condition he's going to be in really when he comes back. You know, sometimes players don't recover from that. But I just want to touch on about the injuries thing again. We're not the only team with injuries. I think sometimes it's easy to feel sorry for ourselves thinking that we're the only ones that have got them. We're not. Everybody's got them. Northampton had quite a few, didn't they, when we played them? And people go on about how we're not going to compete with Birmingham and Wrexham. On paper, we shouldn't, but football's played on grass. And unless you get the right recruitment and the right tactics and the right coaching, money spent is meaningless sometimes. And I think this is where Clough will come into his own, and he's worth a lot really just for his experience. And I think this is more his sort of level. And I think we could surprise a few people. It's not always about how much money you've got.
Jim Evans there playing the part of Brian Clough. Cam just asked in the comments what quote that's from. I'm fairly sure that was a Brian Clough one, wasn't it, Alan? Something about football's played on grass or something?
Yeah, I think it was something like that. Yeah, but quality, Jim, quality.
Well,
Let's go back to the Kilgore situation, Clive, because hopefully, like we say, it should be the Newcastle under-21s game of the Nobody Cares trophy. Like we say, it'd be good to see him back, but if he can get himself back to where he was, he gives us an option in let's be honest, a defence which is still a little bit frail and he's still a little bit mismatched. If you look at our finishing centre back three on Tuesday night, you essentially had a right back playing centre back because George Williams for some reason refuses to play right back at Mansfield. You had Jordan Bowery, who is a striker turned defender, and then you had Dave, who last season was playing as a 10 for Burton.
So what's your point?
That we've got natural players coming back into their natural habitat. I don't want to come across whatever his name is, but
if goalkeepers are good enough, they're tall enough. Forwards, if they're good enough, they make good defenders, and we've proved that. Don't like it in principle, but we've been well served by the versatile player, haven't we?
Bloody hell, we've got them all on tonight. We've got Jim playing the part of Brian Clough, and you're playing the part of his son Nigel.
Yeah. So the reality is Kilgore is valued to death by the football club, but notably by Nigel because he gives the dog a walk. And
no, I think you'll find that's Aidan Flint's job right now. Am I right, Alan?
Yeah.
Well, I hope Kilgore does get back on the field and does recover properly from his injury. It's a horrible thing to come back from. There are no guarantees, as Jim says. He could end up going back, disappearing into the wilderness, which would be really sad. The club's done everything right by him. As Jim pointed out, he's been paid for not kicking a ball in anger. He must be really frustrated. I mean, I'm frustrated because when he came, we could see that our team was going to be built around him. And then to lose him in the way that it happened as well, which is pure fluke, it's just so frustrating. At a time when we were struggling for defenders, then we lost our hinge pin defender. But we we've proven that if you battle hard enough and you've got people who can play in any position, you can get by. But surely a fit Kilgore slots straight back in.
Yeah, he does. Surely, Cam, he's got to go back in, and with the armband back as well.
Oh, now I don't know about the armband. I think Aidan Flint is the natural choice. But what on earth has he done to himself? He looks like an absolute monster.
Who?
Kilgore, he looks massive.
You spend a lot of time in the gym and Cam, I think that's the difference.
Well, that's what walking the dog does to you.
Can't do leg day, but he's done everything else. Jesus Christ! What a
Hey, he's done hair day though, hasn't he? He's clearly looked at Aidan Flint and gone, "I want a bit of that."
honestly, if you,
There's a bit of Brian Kilcline in there, I think.
imagine looking at that too as your centre back pairing, and then you've got.
Don't forget.
Sorry, Jim.
Go on.
Sorry to interrupt. Don't forget old Dave as well. I think it's been fantastic.
I feel sorry for Dave. Let's be real. He's going to get sacked off as soon as Kilgore and Flint are in.
You think so? I think
Is
he's
he,
sliding
though?
forward.
I think the
I
problem.
do as well.
I think the problem is, where does Dave play naturally?
Easily. Dave's position in this side, as we're lining up right now with this system, is to sit alongside Lewis Reed in front of the back four and to help us break teams down. He'll go and play almost in the Hiram Boateng role. Put it this way, who would you rather have when you start in 11, Hiram Boateng or a traffic... No, sorry, Hiram Boateng or Dave?
Oh, Dave, but I mean, like, how does that formation then work? Because clearly Nigel likes his 4-4-2 diamond, and
I don't think he does anymore.
I think he's changed his mind a bit.
I think he's starting to adapt now to the 5.
I
It's
know,
a new dawn.
yeah, he does
It's a
like
new day
new life.
for me.
Anyway,
Come on, Alan, join in.
when
I'm just in
How have
awe.
you done today?
I'm in awe.
It's like being it's like Bublé's in the room.
You say Buble or Bubble?
Bublé. You know, Cam's favourite.
Yeah.
that's
I
late.
was doing Heather. What's her name?
At the small.
Listen, I'm excused. I have senior moments.
What were we talking about, by the way? Or we were talking systems, weren't we?
Right.
About Dave. Everybody is talking about Dave. I like how everybody just took on board the Dave and not so much the Deji. Everybody likes
you.
Dave.
So I've told you what you need to do, Alan.
Oh
Told you
yeah,
what you need to do.
yeah.
Substitution for Mansfield Town. Dave has been exchanged for
No exchange.
Giorgio Mauricio.
Uncle Stephen is replaced by Dave.
Look at Stephen. Look at Stephen.
So it'd be sensible. I think that if we have a good, strong back line, whether it's a 3 or a 4, based on the players who have been recruited to play in that position, who have been currently injured, then Dave becomes a bit spare in that context. But I think he's to be a superb, hard midfielder. Our midfield isn't hard at the moment. And
Is it very much so?
if he could play alongside Reed or slightly behind Reed, I think it'd be a cracking progress.
Is it very much all right? He's been lumped into this role because he's had to. Is he the aforementioned Ollie Clark replacement that maybe we've missed?
We all thought Backers was going to be that, but I mean, he's gone out on a wider role now, hasn't he? Although he used to, he used to play that role, didn't he? Ollie, occasionally, he did used to play that.
Your white thing's all wobbly. Let me read that. Hold it still.
I'm trying.
Pound of onions.
For those that- Sorry, just context. Listening. Craig has put up a formation, and it looks
Can
about
I just have a word of praise for the audio-visual techniques here?
Yes, I know. I always forget this is an audio medium that more people listen to than watch. But there you go. Watch it. You get this comedy gold.
But it is interesting. I do. You know what? I think as much as we
I'm gonna. Can I have for Christmas? If we do Secret Santa, can I have one of those little tactics boards with the magnets? I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
we did Secret Santa, many
No.
years ago. I think we should do it again.
Yes. Anyway, carry on.
I think as much as we've praised Christy Pym earlier, and just coming on to the tactics, I really think we owe Mr. Clough a lot more credit than maybe what he's getting for certain aspects. When he came in, he was very adamant in playing players in positions and not changing his style. Last season, for whatever reason, he's looked at it and gone, shit, I'm not very good at this football thing. I need to be more adaptable. I can't be so head set in my ways, because you saw it a mile off the playoff season that you knew how we were going to set up. The season after, you knew how we were going to set up. And obviously through injuries, a lot of it, but it's just shown the adaptability that the players have got. And all right, the players can play in different positions, but I mean, adaptability is in we can play several different styles of football and formations in one game. Whereas before, we could not at all. And
Now,
I'd like to know your opinions, because it is very interesting that you look at Saturday and Tuesday, very, very different games, but still very much playing in a similar sort of style, but changing it up, obviously, at half-time because of injuries, but then having to sit back and soak up pressure, but then still having that attacking intent up front, and just having that little bit of fluidity to change how we're set up, which under the Clough of old, we did not do very well at all.
fluidity. Now let's just pause it there for us. Let's pause it there for a second. We will pick up this line of conversation in a moment, because I've just heard in my ear that the halftime whistle has blown. So we need to take an advertising break so we can rake in our mega books of £1.58 a month. Hit the ads, people. And just like that, you're back with the show for the fans, by the fans. This is the Mansfield Matters Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. With me, Alan Wilson, Cam Felton, Clive Parkin, and on the old mobile blower, we've got Jim Evans as well. Now, before the break, we were talking tactics, and Cam said that I held up a piece of paper to the screen with my preferred starting 11 on there, my preferred formation. I was going to try and make a quick graphic and put it on screen, but I couldn't be arsed, so I'm going to stick with the old paper. But for those that are in Technicolor, aka listening audio version, I'm going to read out what the team is as well. So I went with a 3-4.
Interrupts. You need to put your Tannoy PA voice and do your best Alan Wilson impression.
Number 1, Christy Pym. No, I can't do that.
Number 4, Elliot Hewitt.
No. So I went with Christy Pym in goal, a back 5 of Elliot Hewitt at right wing back, Fraser Blake Tracy at left wing back, 3 central defenders right to left of Kilgore, Flint and Cargill. This is, of course, hypothetical if everybody was fit. 2 holding midfielders of Dave and Reed alongside each other, with Maris just behind the front 2 of Gregory and Evans. Now, I'm going to try and put me on full screen for a second, so those at home who are watching can just see what I'm getting at. I know, I've put it across my face though, so you're all good. So I've drawn a few arrows there. So what I like about Nigel Clough's formation, this particular formation, and how it differs from that of old when we did it a few seasons ago after the playoffs, is we actually know how to play the system. So when the 2 fullbacks go forward of Hewitt and Blake Tracy in this example, what will happen is the 3 centre-backs will split and shuffle. So Kilgore will adapt into a more of a right-back position. Dave will slot into centre-half, or in the current formation, in the current 11, it's usually Reed. And then everybody else shuffles across. So Cargill slots in more of as a left-back, and we become more of a compact 4 and sort of sit in. So everyone knows the roles a little bit. Likewise, when we're defending, Evans, who I've got on the wrong side in this particular example, will drop a little bit deeper and sort of cover McLaughlin or whoever it is that's playing on that sort of side. And we just shuffle around the pitch, we fill the gaps, and we move in sync with each other, and we just get around the pitch a lot more. And when we were talking about who could be available, if you look at this particular 11, Alan in particular, George Maris has wanted an opportunity to play as a 10 at this level for a long, long time. And if you think about defensive-minded Dave and Reed, who can also attack and get on the ball, it allows him to have that gap in the midfield there, doesn't it? And just sort of create space for Evans and Gregory, and that's where we could get a lot of good fortune.
I was nodding when I first saw the lineup, Craig, and yeah, it's a quality lineup, that is. And I also agree with Ben in the comments about DKD going, because a lot of the football and the ball moving went through DKD, albeit sometimes, he used to do it himself. But I agree 100% with that, because obviously no key DKD. We haven't got a direct replacement as of yet. So, we've all had to change, as it were, and it seems to be working. But it was a good point that was by Ben.
And I'm going to say this now to back up Ben's comment a little bit, Jim, that actually losing DKD, I know we've sort of touched upon the reasoning behind it, but let's talk about him not being in the squad. It has allowed us to change system, and in changing system, it's no coincidence that that's aligned with our good form. We've become harder to break down. We've soaked up pressure, which we're going to have to a lot at this level, and we've scored some good goals from it. Case in point, actually, Aaron Lewis's 2 goals in the previous 3 games, and also the goal in which Ben Wayne scored late on. Yeah. We got behind the ball, we won the ball back, and then we pushed up almost like a coin pusher and broke in behind. It's DKD's departure has done us a favour. Your thoughts, Jim?
Yeah, I think last season he was the main man, wasn't he? And I think it's all too easy just to look for that one player, and everything ends up going through him. But then he could become a little bit predictable, even though that's ironic because he was quite unpredictable as a player. But I think off the ball, especially, he was a bit lightweight, very lightweight, and I think we carried him a bit off the ball. So that's gone, and especially at League One, I think that's important. I mean, and also, football's football. Players come and go. I mean, look at Gregory. Gregory missed a hatful at Northampton, but we still got. It gives an opportunity for somebody else. So no, I think I don't think it matters that he's gone at all.
I think what it like I said there, Cam, it has sort of helped us, and I think it's helped other players sort of come into their own and grow a little bit as well. And thank you, I'll take that because it was my tactics. Cam just changed his thing to Mansfield Matters, the tactical geniuses. It was me that came up with it, to be fair, so maybe it's me that's a tactical genius, but we'll move on. There is a comment, though, in there, Cam, about Blackpool and speedy wingers. Nigel Clough has identified that, and obviously one of them is CJ Run, who I'm looking forward to seeing. So it will be interesting to see how it happens. And when I'm talking about players recycling and getting in positions and covering for each other, I think we're going to see that a lot more on Saturday because let's say, for argument's sake, that it's Hewitt and McLaughlin, the 2 wing backs. They will go higher up the pitch, and it will leave space in behind. So players like Bowery are going to have to go across. Players like Cargill, if he's playing, is going to go across to the other side and cover, or Williams if he's sort of sat in there. And I think that's where we're going to break them down a little bit and going to have to be a little bit more tactically. Have a little bit more tactical nous about us because they will get in behind and they will have pace.
Yeah. Moments like this where you probably need a Kilgore or a Flint just to absolutely run through someone like CJ. Tactically, of course. Not a foul. Just let your man know you're there. Just maybe a little bit more forceful. Anyway. Yeah, it's something we've got to be wary of, and you're probably going to see Bowery probably at right back or centre back just to deal with an element of CJ's pace. Obviously, Bowery's faster than most of our other players, but not as fast as he used to be, and nowhere near as fast as CJ. But it's just sort of like it's going to be very much a balancing act. We very much need to be set up so we can switch to a very defensive, compact system at the click of the fingers. We used it very well in the 3-4 years that CJ was with us, and that from defence to attack in a flash, and getting a ball forward to the run onto, or getting it down the line. And we've got to be very aware of that. If you're not going to outrun your man, you've got to make sure that you either you win the ball in your tackle or just put it out of play. Don't give them an opportunity to get the ball forward. Don't leave a man. If you've got an overlap, make sure you've got, so like whoever is playing centre back, if you've got to come forward slightly, make sure someone's dropping in. Like we was on about, sort of like in the different style where Reed drops in as a centre back, we're very much going to need everyone across that four, however we play that midfield, to be dropping back and tracking their man. I think we've been guilty in the past where we've just not tracked back enough, and I think someone like Keanu Bacchus maybe doesn't track back enough, or he does it at the wrong times and he lets a man get past him. Very good player, but sometimes I don't know whether it's a lapse in concentration or he's just that thinking about nicking the ball and just going on a run. Because he's
sorry to cut you off. I think just on Bacchus there, I think he's very unfortunate. He's the one who's probably had the most misfortune in terms of this change of shape, because he's not a wing back.
No.
He's being asked to play there due to other people, and he's going to make mistakes. Actually, going back to the formation that I put on earlier, he probably plays in that Maris role and has that bit of a free rein in behind the front two and creates. But unfortunately, until we have the players available, he's probably going to be utilised at wing back. But I have to say this, Alan, on the back of that, if I was Nigel Clough and I was thinking about how Blackpool are going to play, like Ben said in the comments, that game is about cancelling out the wing play, and they look scary down both sides, with CJ and Aptu will cause us a problem. I don't think Bacchus would start for me. If Williams is fit, if Hewitt's fit, I'm going Hewitt at right wing back, and a centre back three of it's probably going to be how it finished, isn't it? Which will be Williams, Bowery, and who else was in there? And Dave. I always forget Dave. Sorry, Dave. Dave.
Not a single recognised centre back in that centre back three.
No.
What is that about?
It's tactical genius. It's Clough tactical genius. Go on, Al.
Wherever they can, they've got to double up if and when needed, and make sure that when we break, we make it count. Because if they come in at us all guns blazing and we do get a break, we've got to make sure we put the ball in onion bag, because then it'll be a different game.
It certainly will. And with that, I think it's probably an apt time to look ahead to that Blackpool game in a little feature that we like to call... So can you be the master or an embarrassing disaster? In this guessing game, there's a simple aim. It's outguess the rest and be the best. Win, lose or draw. Do you know the score? Who will be your hero to make sure you don't score zero? Yes, it may be fiction, but this is Podcast Predictions. You happier this week, Clive? I turned it up.
No, still not loud enough.
Okay, well I'll do it. I'll turn it up enough to blast through your ears. I did tweak it a little bit.
There is something between the two, Craig. Between the level it's at and blasting through my ears.
Well, to be fair, I did do the edit on that whilst we were doing this. So anyway, predictions time, and we're going to start this week with Mr. Alan Wilson.
A 2-1 win. Deji Oshilaja.
Sorry, who?
Dave.
Dishwasher.
Clive, you're up next.
Well, I can't break the habit now that's been so successful, so I have to forecast a defeat. It'll be 2-1 defeat, and the player with most influence will be Pim.
Jim, over to you.
Delighted to go into the game as underdogs. I think that suits us down to the ground. A 2-2 draw, Mr. Evans.
Cam.
1-1, and I think Dave.
I am also going to opt for a draw. I'm going to go for 1-1, and I am going to go for El Capitano, Mr. Lewis Reed. As always, if you want to play along with podcast predictions, you can do so via the link in the description. You must do so no later than 1 hour and 1 minute before kickoff on Saturday afternoon. And if you want to see the full table, yes, the full damn thing, you can see it now on our social media, because somebody genuinely cornered me in the co-op a couple of days ago and said, "Where am I in podcast predictions?" I went, I don't know who you are. They told me
it was a security officer who wanted to look in your basket.
Wasn't my basket where you needed to look? Are these custard creams in your pocket, back pocket, or are you pleased to see me? I had no idea who it was. They told me the name. I had no idea where they were. But they'll know, because they can look on podcast predictions. Anyway, the link's in the description. Feel free to play along to the guessing game that brings you 0 fame. Right, before we move on to Silly O'Clock, let's turn our attention to...
I thought the whole thing was Silly O'Clock.
I mean, I'm not changing the podcast name now after 8 series, but yes, it is. Let's turn our attention to a few honourable mentions from the last couple of weeks, and looking ahead to what will be a busy month as well. And I'm going to come to Cam first, because he's changed his name again. The Wayne train has left the station. I'm glad it wasn't something like the Wayne train has something in the rain, has feigned in the rain, or so. I just thought you were just going to go over the top with rhyming, but good to see him all the same get off the scoring sheet after 2 horrendous misses.
Somehow he scored the hardest one of the 3 that he had on Tuesday.
Can I also add that it was a situation that, and I'm not taking anything away from the lad because he had to finish it off, but it was 2 very tired defenders and one fairly recently brought on attacker. I think if the defenders were bright enough, they'd have cut him out quite simply. But he took advantage of them, and that was all we needed.
The Wayne train didn't cause pain in the southern rain. Okay,
no,
Cam.
No, not having that.
No, we might have to do a tongue twisters game one of these weeks, I think.
I mean, that tongue twister is better than our match day graphic from Tuesday. My goodness, that was horrific.
I was just going to come on to the
Wayne in the rain was anything but plain.
The horrendous AI, clearly AI generated image. Somebody went on Photoshop, didn't they, and drew the square and put generate it and did the image generator. Blue bus with stags on number plate, I think they put in. I'm not saying sack the graphic designer, but I'm saying sack the graphic designer, because that was absolutely
embarrassing. Yeah, it wasn't brilliant. I think Mr. Nathan Edge probably could have done a better job. Speaking of which, welcome back to the motherland.
No, don't talk to me about that man, because he's back, and yet where is he?
Oh yeah, no, fair point.
Yeah, I'm not having it. No.
Oof.
We're not talking about him until he comes back. Ben says, I've applied for head of social media at Stags. To be fair to the graphic designer, I am going to back them up, but ever so slightly, because at the start of the campaign, Cam, and you agreed, because we were talking about it on X, the match day starting lineup graphic was horrendous and difficult to read because of font and imagery. It's been made a little bit more clean now, and there is a bit of a pattern emerging.
Yeah, obviously it's a difficult one because it's all down to personal preference, but yeah,
exactly. Like some people will have liked the bus image on Tuesday.
More people took the piss out of it than anything, but yeah, it just over time it's just developed and it just became a little bit easier to read, font, colours, and whatever. But yeah, other than that. All good.
And I've given it a lot of thought. And my outcome is the Wayne in the rain flushed the cobblers down the drain.
Well, that would be good if he would have scored against Northampton against the Cobblers. So you're halfway there.
Senior moment. It's all right.
Senior moment again. He's had one again. Let's turn our attention, shall we, then, Jim, to the forthcoming fixtures. October is a very busy month, even with a game postponed. I wouldn't say that we've had it particularly easy in the last few games, but it's going to get a little bit harder. Blackpool, to start us off at One Call Stadium on Saturday. Then we've got a bit of a break, and then they really kick in. Stevenage, then a trip to Wigan, and then of course Birmingham, which is a 12:30 kickoff live on Sky Sports Plus. And then we finish the month with the game that nobody cares about. Big fixtures, Jim, and we need to sort of try and follow suit a little bit, don't we? And try and get as many points on the board and keep this momentum going. Because as much as we sit here now, lauding the fact that we're on this excellent unbeaten run, we could be sitting here in a month's time going, "Oh my God, when are we going to next pick up a point?"
Well, I think a spell like that will come. I think there's not much in the whole league, is there? From top to bottom, I think the league's very, very tight. And we said this before the Stockport game. We said Northampton away would be tough, and they didn't beat us. A part of that list of fixtures you read out, the Birmingham game is the only one I look at and go, "Oh, I'm not sure we can live with that." But the rest of them, I don't think we go into with any fear. I really, really don't. And I think we need to keep the same approach. Accept that every game is going to be tough. The second we think we've cracked it is when we will start losing, and just try and one game at a time, get what we can from each, and that's it. And I don't think, as I say, apart from the likes of Birmingham, we've got anything really to fear.
I think that's a good point to pick up on, Clive, isn't it? Because fear, people would have expected a newly promoted team, especially ours, to struggle in this league. We've very much shown that we can hold our own and compete as well. There is no such thing as fear. Yes, Birmingham have got these $1 million players or whatever. They've got these big hitters, but like Jim mentioned earlier, the game isn't played on bank statements. It's played on grass.
Yeah. I mean, the availability of talent they have, though, should put them in a hugely advantageous position. But I don't think as a club, any club, but certainly our club, there's no role for fear. What is there to fear? You go out and play football. The worst that can happen is you'll lose the game. In fact, the worst that can happen is you get injured in a game that you've lost. But the reality is we've got 11 players on the park as they have. We have Nous. We have a decent manager. At last, we've got a fairly constructive set of formulations that seem to work better for us. We've got players that are playing for the shirt. We've got three or four big bags full of grit. And quite clearly, anything can happen. Sooner or later, Birmingham are going to drop points. And I would suspect we might be the people doing it.
Well, we shall wait and see. Well, Clive there spoke about talents and games and things like that. And I think it's an apt time to fire up the random game generator for this week. Shall we find out what we're going to be playing, ladies and gentlemen? Here we go then.
Content loading. Selecting game. Game selected. Players stand by.
System malfunction.
The wonderful world of Wilson.
Craig Priest has been exchanged for Alan Wilson. Oh, okay.
What?
I've been exchanged for Alan Wilson. Right.
What was that?
That means that. What do you mean? What was that? It's the random game generator.
Moving on. Keep going.
I'm about to get my thinking cap on then.
So I've been exchanged for Alan Wilson, which means that Alan is now going to do a game of some sort, and I'm going to play for Alan. It's as simple as that. So, Alan, what have you got for us?
Right, basically, it's a game of 13 quiz questions, and all the answers are surnames of Mansfield Town former players. Okay, the surnames of Mansfield Town former players. And once you get all 13 answers, there is a link, and that is what is in my bucket.
Oh, it's got a bucket as well. I like it. It's a better bucket than mine as well. So, obviously,
I'm good for a cup of tea.
So, we'll play for points in this game. So, I'm going to be playing for Alan's points. Clive, Cam, Jim, you're going to be playing for your own points as always. Nick's not here this week, so he can't play for any points.
1 point per answer. So there's a total of 13 points, and I have got a decider if needed. Tiebreaker.
Okay, so whoever gets the most points wins then, I guess. Right, Alan Wilson, who seems
Right.
very well prepared to say it's a random game generator.
Just think that's something I knocked up in the last 2 minutes, obviously.
Genius, absolute genius, Al.
Right. So just remember, all the answers are former Mansfield Town players' second names.
Just before you start, Al, Jim, are you good with everything? You understand the rules?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Right, Al, take it away then.
Right. The first question.
Hang on, I'll just hold on a minute. I've got to get Google up.
Right. And I hope you're all playing at home. Question 1. A place not far from Nottingham. A place not far from Nottingham.
Got it.
Question 1. Yeah.
What do I win?
Question 2. If you're a film buff, that shower scene. If you're a film buff, that shower scene. Question 3.
Alan, this film thing, is it like porno we're talking about or what?
I don't think so, Clive.
Oh, well, I won't know
Well,
it
I
then.
suppose technically we did have a player called Rod once, didn't we? Anyway, moving on.
Question 3. See if you can knock them over to strike. See if you can knock them over to strike. Question 4. They've got a lot of these hotels, especially outside Legoland. They've got a lot of these hotels, especially there's one outside Legoland. Question 5. What colour girl was in the ring?
Purple.
Going back to porn again.
What colour girl was in the ring? You got your answers?
Yeah.
Question
Yeah.
6. If it's rolling, it gathers no moss. If it's rolling, it gathers no moss.
Choo, 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 choo.
Question 7. You'll find him on a chessboard. You'll find him
We're back on porn again, aren't we?
on a chessboard. Don't forget, when you've answered all 13, there is a link.
I'm going to say this
Question
now, Alan. There's a very high chance that you are not getting a point from this week's game.
Question 8. Match of the day, maybe. Match of the day, maybe. Question 9.
I'll retract that statement, Alan. There's no way you're getting a point for this game.
The cost of something is the something. The cost of something is the something. That's the name.
Okay.
Question 10. The name behind a certain make of glass. The name behind a certain make of glass.
You know, before you reveal what's in your bucket, Al, can we have a stab at what the link is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you want? Yeah. Question 11. Not the black minstrels. Not the black minstrels. Cam's looking flummoxed. Question 12. Now, your two young lads should get this.
Alan, before you go any further, going back to question 10, have we ever had a player called Double Glazed?
Not as far as I know.
Right, I've got that one wrong.
He played left wing back
Double back
until he got a 2-footed challenge, and then he broke into tiny shards of. Moving on.
Hopefully he's not a keeper because you can see straight through him.
Question 12. The song Everybody's Changing. The song Everybody's Changing.
Oh, actually, I've just got it because I've just sung it in my head. Thanks, Cam.
And question 13, the last question. Ladies normally have this drink with lemonade.
Can I guess the link?
Oh.
Yes.
That's
The link.
easy.
The link is goalkeepers.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yes. Alan is displaying a thing on his screen, Jim, saying Mansfield Town goalkeepers, which is pulled from his bucket. Well done. I mean, I think
Now, I'm going to say we're going to go through the answers and see how many you get because there might be the tie break.
Okay.
A quick run through.
Go on,
Number
then.
1, Rod Arnold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2, Hitchcock.
Oh.
Oh, you see, I got Psycho.
Yeah, well, it was Hitchcock.
Yeah, but I was trying to wrap my brains. We're going to play a called Psycho.
Stuart Pearce.
Yeah.
See, question 3, bowling.
Oh, I
Right,
see. I've
Michelle.
got Skittles.
Well, you haven't done very well, have you then, Clive? Question 4, Marriott.
And it's at that point where I got the goalkeeping link. I didn't get number 1, I didn't get number 2, but I got 3 and 4. And at that point, I thought, they're two goalkeepers.
Question 5, girl in the ring was Brown, Graham Brown. Question 6,
Alan, I'm 25-year-old.
Rolling gathers no moss, Stone,
Oh,
Aidan Stone.
Of course, yeah, well done.
Oh, he's shit.
7, you'll
Yeah.
find on the chessboard, Bishop.
Oh, of course it is.
Match of the day, maybe, Shearer.
Scott's, yeah.
Ah, yes.
The cost of something, Price.
Lewis Price.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
10, the name behind a special maker glass, Pilkington.
Pilkington.
yeah, I didn't know that, Alan. I was only pulling
Yeah.
your Todger.
Yeah.
Stop
11,
going on about that particular type
Not-
of movie, Kai. For
not
God's
the
sake.
Black Minstrels,
The
White.
White.
Jason White. The song Everybody's Changing,
Thanks for
Keane.
that, Cam, by the way. Keen. You were singing it.
Keane.
I heard you singing it.
And the third one, ladies normally have the drink with lemonade, Pim.
Well, strictly speaking, it's Pims, but go on.
Oh, yeah, but. So, what's everybody got? What's the scores on the doors? Do we have a tie break?
Jim,
10.
start with you. Jim, start with you.
7.
7. I also got 7. Clive?
10.
Cam?
Shit. 5.
Oh,
Can
right,
So-
that was the-
No.
I had a bad start, but I've caught up.
I get an extra point, please, Mr. Quizmaster, for being the one to identify the link?
yes.
Oh,
Thank you. So I got 8. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to give you the tiebreaker anyway. 2 players with the same surname. Who are they?
What,
Well, that's
goalkeepers,
Yeah,
keepers.
that was the link. Yeah,
Oh, okay. What that have both played? What that have both played for Stags?
yes.
Oh. Is it one that was on the list of the
No.
of the 13? So it's someone that's
No.
not been on the list.
No.
If we had 2
Would have
Pressmans,
said 13. That's normally a reserve goalkeeper, isn't it?
yeah, that's another reason why I got the link.
Yeah.
If we had 2 Pressmans,
Not that I know of. I mean,
Have
we
we had-
might have done, but I'm going with what's on my list.
okay. I don't think we've had Flinders. I'm
I'll
trying
give
to
you.
wrap my
I'll give you a clue. One starts with the letter J, and the other one starts with the letter A.
Jim, any ideas?
Not really. Not Jason.
No.
No, it's not. No, I don't. No.
J and A. Go on. No, go on.
Jordan and Adam Smith.
I was going to say
Of
Smith.
Jordan
course.
Smith, Forrest, Adam Smith.
Yeah.
Now, did Adam Smith play for us
Yes, he did. Yes.
in a league game?
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, whether it
Oh.
was league or cup, but he played.
he did. He did.
Bit obscure, though,
Yeah.
Alan. I'm sorry. That was
Pardon?
a bit
Was.
obscure. Bit
Oh.
obscure.
That was.
Well, you
Hey, what
won.
do I get?
Congratulations, Clive.
You won, Clive. So
What do I
I'd be
win?
a point
You get the
for
point.
for the board, which means now that Jim, I'm afraid to say you have no points. Cam, you are on 1 point, and then we are joint between Nick, Alan, and Clive, who all have 2 points apiece.
Oh,
So there you go. Well done, Al. I thought that was quite a good quiz, actually. I quite enjoyed that one.
yeah, no
Liked
problem.
Liked the little link. Loved the little link, and
Yeah.
yes, I'm frustrated that I didn't know. The first one really got me because I went down the wrong trail of thought. Because you said a place near Nottingham, and I went Sutton. Because I'm thinking surely he's written Richie Sutton into an answer.
Yeah, but I was just trying to think of something different, and then it came to me, with bowling and all the others. When I asked Jeanette the questions, she got most of the answers, and she thought, well, you're wrong with bowling because he played outfield, didn't he? I says, no. I says, Ian Bowling with goalkeeper.
Well,
For
there you
some
go.
reason-
I
for
absolutely
whatever
loved it,
reason,
Alan.
she thought he played outside.
It was absolutely brilliant, mate. Well done. Thanks so much for giving us that quiz. Where will the random game generator
Yeah.
land next week? However, Alan, I do feel, though, that was a quiz which was deserving of this. There you go. There you go.
Well,
Deserving of
well,
a bit of
starting
celebration.
something. Quiz
There you
champ.
go. Quiz champion. Right. We'll see where the random game generator lands next week.
Oh.
Yes, Cameron.
Sorry, just a reference. I'm guessing we're not going to do a podcast until after next weekend, are we?
No.
Just a reference for those that don't know. I believe it's Monday, the 14th of October, first FA Cup round draw. Because
Yes.
I don't think we'll see anybody between now and then, unless we do a random one, which very likely. But still, FA Cup draw, Monday the 14th. The fourth qualifying round is next weekend.
Well, there's only 2 ways in which we would do a podcast between now and the next
Do
the
not
next 2 weeks.
mention one of them.
The first is, of course, if we had to break out the old emergency managerial change special, which
No.
I'm not going to do. The second would be if the club goes up for sale, which, of course, is very highly unlikely as well. Especially because I'm going on holiday for a week and I ain't taking any of this stuff. So
Anyway,
Enjoy it.
the rain in the rain, flush the creepies down the drain.
that's better. Well, great. That's a great callback. That's a great
Yeah.
callback, Clive, to a gag which we did half an hour ago. Well done. Loved it. Right, let's
Nearly
bring
as
some.
slow as Jim's internet connection.
That's it. Well, fortunately, Jim isn't on the internet. He's on the other end of the phone. And Jim, let's have the last word from you before I press the old end call button. Blackpool at home then on Saturday. Let's get it back to normality. We've had a great 2 games on the road. It's sold out again. Can we have a little bit of good fortune against our friends from the seaside?
I think, as again, they're not a team to fear. I think, like we touched on, the system is going to be important. It'll be the team that beats Blackpool, not individuals. I'm not too worried about CJ, famous last words, 'cause I don't think he's got particularly much end product. And I think, as I said before, I think let's go into the game as underdogs. That suits us, and I think we can get something for sure. And a point would be a good point. And yeah,
Steve bruised my arse.
Yeah.
Stop
that's
talking
it.
about titles for those videos, Clive. It's disgusting. Alan, obviously, the last time that a certain Mr. Hamilton was at One Call Stadium, you used to do a particular announcement. How are you going to stop yourself from doing that on Saturday when you read the opposing lineup?
Oh, there'd be no problem. It'll just be CJ Hamilton.
Can I just say they don't use CJ now, do they? Just have C Hamilton.
Oh, do they? Oh,
Yeah.
right.
It's Chris. Is it Christopher?
Christopher, yeah.
But
Yeah.
they don't use CJ as his
Oh,
call
right.
sign anymore. So
Oh,
perhaps he's grown up a bit.
I will ask the question then.
Well, we will wait and see. Right. Clive, any last words on all things Blackpool, or are you sticking with Steve Bruce, my arse?
Yeah, well, a bit of that, but also I hope, as always, that my prediction it comes wrong.
Well, you know,
Having said that, last week I did get the player, even though I got, knowingly called for a defeat when I knew we were going to win 2-0 because I'm selfless.
yeah. Well, that's the sort of commitment we want on this podcast, isn't it, Cam?
It is.
Nobody cares. Thanks so much for joining us on the show for the fans, by the fans. This is the Mansfield Matters podcast, and we will see you next time. We'll see you next week. Cam, how do you fall for it every single time? Every time. Oh, dear. That's all we've got time for. Let's play the music, shall we? I need to actually load the music up. Where is it? It's over there. Oh yeah. Jim's still on the phone. Bye, Jim.
Bye,
See you
Jim.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, there we go. Jim's gone. Cam's gone. Let's get rid of the thing scrolling at the bottom as well. It's all falling to pieces. We don't want the one that says the show will start. We're not having that. Get rid. Go away. And we don't need them either as well. My thanks to you for listening. This is the Mansfield Matters podcast. Here's the jingle. So after 2 fantastic back-to-back wins on the road, the Stags are coming home. But can they continue to keep it simple and get another win? And maybe, dare we even ask, another clean sheet on the board as they look to stabilise and maybe even solidify, ding ding, their position at the top end of Sky Bet League One. As always, if you want to play along with podcast predictions, the link that you need is in the description. Remind you must do it no later than 1 hour or 1 minute before kickoff. We won't be here next week, and we won't be doing a reflection on the Blackpool game because I'm off to Cornwall to eat some ice cream. Stay tuned to our social media to find out when we're next going to be live. That's all from me. Goodbye!